सलोक महला पहला, दुख दारु सुख रोग भया, जा सुख ताम न होई। तू करता करना में नाही, जाहु करी न होई। Suffering is the medicine. It is like one of the ways of meeting with Vaheguru, and pleasure is the disease, because where there is pleasure, there is no desire to meet with God. O God, O Vaheguru, you are the Creator. I can do nothing. Nothing is in my hands. Even if I try, nothing happens. बलिहारी कुदरत वसया, तेरा अंत ना जाई लखया रहा। I would offer myself as a sacrifice to you, who pervades everywhere and abides in the whole universe through nature. It is not possible for us to gauge your greatness or your limits, as it is beyond our comprehension. Pause. जात में है ज्योत, ज्योत में है जाता, अकल कला भरपूर रहया। तू सच्चा साहिब शिफ्त सवालियो, जिनकी तीसो पार पया। कहो नानक करते किया बातां, जो किछ करना सो कर रहया। Your brightness and light is functioning in this world, and the whole world is represented by your light and illumination. O Vaheguru, you are pervading and spread all over the world because of your power. The God is shining throughout all over the world and pervading everywhere in the same measure. You are the true Master, and whosoever has served you by singing your praises has crossed this ocean of life successfully. O Nanak, all this is a part of wonderful drama of the God, and He does whatever pleases Him as per His will. महला दूजा, जोग शब्दं ज्ञान शब्दं, वेद शब्दं ब्राह्मण है। खत्री शब्दं सूर शब्दं, शूद्र शब्दं प्राकृत है। सर्व शब्दं एक शब्दं, जे को जाने पेयो। नानक ताका दास है, सोई निरंजन देयो। The knowledge of Brahma, the God, is the only path leading to salvation. While Brahmins consider salvation only through the study of Vedas or through literature leading to salvation. For Khatris, the duty lies in fighting wars, thus attaining salvation, while Vaishyas are busy in agriculture, and the fourth class of Shudras are duty-bound to serve all others, thus leading to their salvation. O Nanak, the greatest religion consists in knowing the secrets of the God and meditating on true Naam. I am slave of the person who knows the secrets of the God. In fact, He alone is illuminating light in the world of the God, free from all worldly falsehood. Mahila दूजा, एक कृष्णन सर्व देवा, देव देवाता आत्मा। आत्मा वासुदेवस्य, जे को जाने पेयो। नानक ताका दास है, सोई निरंजन देयो। that Vaheguru, the one and only God, He alone parades everywhere, including the gods and demons, where He is showing His kindly light. O Nanak, the same God abides every human being. Whosoever remembers the secret of life, that God Himself is present within us all, or His light only shines within each individual, so we should not injure the feelings of others. I am a servant of Guru-minded people, as His shining forth, being free from worldly falsehood. महला पहला कुंभे बद्धा जल रहे, जल बिन कुंभ न होए, ज्ञान का बद्धा मन रहे, गुर बिन ज्ञान न होए. Just a water could be kept intact in a pitcher only, and without water the pitcher cannot be made, or without water pitcher has no value. Similarly, our mind is controlled by the Guru's knowledge that keeps the mind in position or peace, while the knowledge cannot be attained without the perfect Guru. Pauri पढ़या होवे गुनहगार, ताओमी साध न मारियै, जेहा काले कालना तेवे हव नाउ पचारियै, ऐसी कला न खेडियै, जित दरगह गया हारियै, पढ़या अतै ओमिया, विचार अग्गै विचारियै, मुँह चले सो अग्गै मारियै. If some literate person having all the knowledge commits some heinous crime, then in such a person's place some other illiterate and poor person does not die. In this world, whatever actions are performed, one has to pay for its consequences and becomes known with the same name. So we should not play a losing game in the battle of life, in the gamble of life, so that we do not face disgust at Vaheguru's court, having lost this gamble of life. Whether a person is knowledgeable or completely ignorant, when such a person faces God's presence, such a person will be judged by the virtues like singing Vaheguru's praises, and will be acceptable in God's court only on the basis of these qualities. In case someone follows one's own will instead of God's will, in the God's court such a person has to face the punishment for this behavior and is completely condemned. Salok महला पहला, नानक मेरे शरीर का, एक रथवाह, जुग जुग फेर बटाइए, ज्ञानी बुझे ताहे, सात जुग रथ संतोख का, धर्म गैरथ वाह, त्रेतय रथ जतय का, जोर गैरथ वाह, द्वापर रथ तपय का, सात गैरथ वाह, काल जुग रथ अगन का, कूड़ गैरथ वाह. O Nanak, the most important part of the body is the soul, whose only bodily existence is the chariot, and there is only one charioteer. During the ages, the charioteers have changed hands, but this secret is understood by only few learned, spiritually knowledgeable people. During Satyug, contentment was the chariot of the body, and Dharam, righteousness, was the charioteer. When all were contented and religious, during the next age of Treta Yuga, the chariot was celibacy and enlightenment, was the charioteer, so people were celibates and brave. During Dwapar age, penance was the body chariot, and the truth was its charioteer. So people were speaking truth and engaged in penance. During the present age of Kalyug, the chariot is of burning worldly desires, and speaking untruth is the charioteer. It is only through meditation of true name that people could get salvation. Mahla pehla साम कहे से तंबर स्वामी सच में आछै साच रहे सबको सच समावे ऋग कहे रहा भरपूर राम नाम देवा महसूर नाय लिये पराछत जाहे नानक तो मुखंतर पाहे. The Sham Veda says that court master is robed in white. In the age of truth, everyone desired truth, abided in truth, and was merged in truth. Satyug is considered the prime of all the four yugs as pronounced by Sham Veda, and Satumbar, Hansa, incarnation of the god when people spoke the truth. Truthful people lived by truth when everyone was imbued with love of truth. During Treta, Rigveda says that the God pervades in full measure in all beings everywhere, and God's true name was considered the main force by gods which could eliminate even sins. O Nanak, during Treta Yuga, God Rama was worshipped, being supreme, and people considered salvation by this worship. जुज में जोर छली चंद्रावल कान किसन जादम भया पार जात गोपी लयाया बिंद्रावन में रंग किया कल में बेद थर बण हुआ नाव खुदाई अल्लाह भया नील वस्त्र ले कपड़े पहरे तुर्क पठानी अमल किया चारे वेद होए सचियार पढ़े गुणे तिन चार विचार पाओ भगत कर नीच सदाए तो नानक मोखंतर पाए. Yajurveda says during Dwapar stage, people believed that Krishna had seduced Chandravali, who brought the tree Parjat from Indra's garden for the milkmaid Satyambhur, and then enjoyed the life at Vrindavan from across the river. During Kalyug, the Veda Atharvan was in vogue, where there were absurd and frivolous stories deprecating the true name, and people stopped remembering God's name. That time the Pathans ruled India, and everyone used to wear blue clothes according to their custom and practice. So by giving details of four Vedas and their times, these books of lore authenticated their truthfulness. Whosoever is a learned person should ponder over beautiful thoughts and should consider what is written in the Vedas. O Nanak, the person who considers himself low and humble could attain salvation while worshipping the God at one's home only. Pauri Satguru Vittu Varya Jit Miliya Khasm Samalya जिन का रूप देश ज्ञान अंजन दिया इन्नी नेत्री जगत निहालिया खसम छोड़ दूजे लगे डूबे सेवण जारिया सतगुरु है बोहे था विरले किने विचारिया कर कृपा पार उतारिया. I offer myself as a sacrifice to the true Guru. Meeting him, I have come to cherish the God, the Master. He has taught me and given me the healing ointment of spiritual wisdom, and with these eyes I behold the world. Those dealers who abandon their God and Master and attach themselves to another are drowned. The true Guru is the word, but few are those who realize this. Granting his grace, he carries them across. श्लोक महला पहला सिमल रुख सराय राल आत दीरग आत मुच ओय जे आवह आस कर जाहि निरासे कित फल फिके फुल बक बके काम न आवे पत मिठत नीवी नानका गुण चंगियाया तात. The simul tree is straight as an arrow. It is very tall and it is very thick. Those birds who visit it with some hopes, they finally depart disappointed, as the fruits of this tree are tasteless, its flowers are nauseating, and its leaves are useless. Sweetness and humility, O Nanak, are the essence of virtue and goodness. Sab ko nivai aap ko, par ko nivai na koi. Tar tara ju to liye, nivai so gaura hoye. अपराधी दूड़ा निवै जो हंता मिर्गाहे शीस निवाये क्या थिये जा हृदय कुसुदे जाहे. Everyone bows with reference to oneself, but no one is interested in paying reverence to bowing to others. When we weigh something in a balance, then the heavier side goes down, but bending of the body alone is of no use. Even the sinner, like the hunter of a deer who wants to kill the deer, bows down twice as low. If one does not possess humility of the heart, then what is the use of bowing the head only? If one's mind follows a wrong path which is leading to falsehood, then what is the use of bending the head alone? O Nanak, humility is sweet and acceptable, which should be the net result of our good actions. Mahalla Pehla पढ़ पुस्तक संध्या बादन सिल पूजस बगुल समाधन मुख चूठ विभूषण सारं त्रैपाल तिहाल विचारं गल माला तिलक लिलाटं दुए तोती वस्त्र कपाटन जे जानस भ्रम कर्म सब फोकट निश्चौ कर्म कहो नानक नह चौ त्यावै विण सतगुरु वाट न पावै. You read your books and say your prayers and then engage in debates. You worship stones and sit like a stork pretending to be in meditation in samadhi. With your mouth you utter falsehood and then you adorn yourself with precious decorations. You recite the 3 lines of Gayatri 3 times a day. Around your neck is a rosary and on your forehead is a sacred mark. Upon your head is a turban and you wear 2 loin clothes. If you knew the nature of God, you would know that all of these beliefs and rituals are in vain. Says Nanak, meditate with deep faith. Without the true Guru, no one finds the way. हौले कपड़ रूप सुहावना छड़ दुनिया अंदर जावना मंदा चंगा आपना आपे ही कीता पावना हुक्म किए मन पाव दे राह पीड़ै अग्गै जावना नंगा दोजक चालिया ता दिसै खरा डरावना कर अवगण पछतावना. One day we have to depart from this world, leaving behind our beautiful body even, and we will have to reap the reward of our good or bad actions in the form of joy or suffering. Such people who have lived a very comfortable life here, having sway over others and commanding others with authority, will have to tread very narrow and arduous path after death, undergoing sufferings. It would be a terrible sight when a person would be marched off naked towards the gates of hell by the Yama, god of death. Whosoever has engaged oneself in vicious and sinful action in this world will have to repent afterwards at the end of this life, but to no purpose. Slok Mahalla Pehla Daya Kapah Santokh Sut Jat Gandi Sat Vat Eho Janeyu Ji Ka Haita Pande Kat Na eho tutte ना मल लगे ना हो जले ना जाए धन सो मानस नानका जो गल चले पाए. This slok is about the message given by Guru Nanak to Pandit Hardayal at the time of his sacred thread ceremony when he refused his offer to thread. To show kindness towards all the beings should be the cotton and contentment be the thread. Celibacy should form the knots to keep a check on our senses, and the thread should be made stronger with tightness of truth. O Pandit, if you possess any thread with such qualities, then I may be given such a thread, while such a thread shall never break or get dirty, neither will it be burnt nor will it be lost. O Nanak, blessed are such people who have used such wonderful and sacred thread. Chaukad mulnaya behe chauke paya sikha kan chadaya Guru Brahman thiya oho muwa oho chad paya vetagga gaya. O Pandit, the thread which you have brought me from the market is so cheap, and have given it to someone for wearing around the neck, and whispered an instruction into the ears of the customer that from now onwards Brahman is your Guru. When a person dies, the body along with the thread is also burned to ashes, so the soul without the sacred thread moves on to God's presence, and the thread falls to the ground. Mahalla Pehla Lakh choriyan lakh jariyan lakh kudiyan lakh gaal lakh ठगियां पहनामियां रात दिनस जी नाल तग कपाहो कत्तिये बामण वटे आए कुह बकरा रिन खाया सबको आखे पाए होए पुराना सुटिए भी फिर पाइयै होर, नानक तग न टुटई, जे तग होवै जोर। A person commits thousands of robberies, thousands of acts of adultery, thousands of falsehoods, and thousands of abuses. A person practices thousands of deceptions and secret deeds night and day against one's fellow beings. The thread is spun from cotton, and the Brahman comes and twists it. The goat is killed, cooked and eaten, and everyone then says, "Put on this sacred thread." When it wears out, it is thrown away, and another one is put on. O Nanak, the thread would not break if it had any real strength and is true and genuine. Mahalla Pehla नाए मनिए पत उपजै, सालाही सच सूत, दरगह अंदर पाइयै, तग ना टूटस पूत. Believing the name of Vaheguru, honor is obtained. The God's praise is the true sacred thread. Such a sacred thread is worn in the court of the God. It shall never break. Mahalla Pehla Tag na Indri, Tag na Nari, पलके थुक पवै नित दाड़ी, तग न पैरी तग न हथी, तग न जिह्वा तग न अखी, वे तगा आपे वत्तै, वट धागे अवरा कत्तै, लै पाड़ करे वियाह, कढ़ कागल दसे राह. सुन वेखो लोका इहो विधान, मन अंधा नाओ सुजान. O Pandit, neither you have controlled your senses, nor have you worn it on the neck of your spouse, resulting in curses being hurled at you daily. Neither the hands nor your feet were checked from doing bad things, and even the tongue was not checked from enjoying and tasting other people's pleasures, and even the eyes were not checked from viewing bad things. You are also roaming around without a thread being worn by you, while you are making others wear it by putting knots on the thread. You are performing marriages by taking money from the parties, and you show the right path by taking out your ledger. You are warning others against certain unpleasant things likely to happen because of Rahu and Ketu planets being in their orbit affecting badly. O brother, hear and see this, that a person who himself is blind and ignorant calls himself to be Sujan and wise, knowing all. What a strange world is this! Pauli Sahib hoye dayal, kirpa kare ta sai kar karaisi, so sevak seva kare, jisno hukm manaisi. हुक्म मनिए होवै परवान, ता खसमै का महल पाइसी. खसमै पावै सो करे, मनु चिंध्या सो फल पाइसी. ता दरगह pedhar jaisi. When the God bestows His grace on us, He would enable us to undertake certain functions that pleases Him. The person who obeys the God's dictates as per His will undertakes the service of the God. Such a person would be received with honor in the God's presence. Once such a person is accepted by the God by following God's will, such a follower gains whatever one wishes as he does whatever pleases Vaheguru. Then such a person proceeds to God's court wearing robes of honor. श्लोक महिला पहला गौ ब्राह्मण को कर लाव गोबर तरण न जाए तोती टिक्का तय जप माली तान मलेच्छा खाए अंतर पूजा पढ़े कतेबा संजम तुर का पाई छोड़ी ले पाखंडा नाम लइए जाहे तरंदा. You're charging a tax fine on the cow and the Brahman on the river bank, and then using cow dung you want to purify your area, but this would not lead to your salvation. On one hand, you're wearing a dhoti, putting a vermilion mark on the forehead with a rosary of beads in the hand. You're performing prayers, while on the other side you're getting money for your livelihood from the Muslims. O siblings of destiny, why do you do such double roles? You perform devotional worship indoors but read the Islamic sacred text and adopt the Muslim way of life. Renounce your hypocrisy. Taking the name of the God, you shall swim across. महला पहला मानस खाने करे निवाज छुरी व गायन तिन गल ताग तिन कर ब्राह्मण पूरे नाद ओना भी आवे ओई साध कूड़ी रास कूड़ा वापार कूड़ बोल करें आहार शर्म धर्म का डेरा दूर नानक कूड़ रहया भरपूर. Some people who are man-eaters or cause undue sufferings to human beings by taking bribes and then say their Muslim prayers, namaz. There are some others wearing the Hindu sacred thread but use a butcher's knife in cutting others' throat or indulge in slander of others, while with the help of pen they make innocent people suffer. The Brahman then goes to their houses and blows the corn. Thus such Brahmins also get the bad taste of such food. They suffer the consequences. In fact, their whole investment is in falsehood, and their merchandise or business consists only in falsehood, and they live on falsehood only. O Nanak, falsehood is prevalent on all sides, as religious conduct of purity is far removed from them, and no one bothers to practice true religion in the right way or lead a clean life. Matthai tikka ted toti kakhai हाथ छुरी जगत का साई नील वस्त्र पहर होवे परवाण मलेच्छ तान ले पूजे प्राण अपाख्या का कुट्ठा बकरा खाना चौके ऊपर किसै न जाना, देकै चौका कड्ढी कार, ऊपर आए बैठे कुड़ियार। मत पिटै वे मत पिटै, इहो अन्न साडा फिटै, तन फिटै फेड़ करेन, मन झूठै चुली परेन। कहो नानक सच ते आईऐ, सुच होवै तां सच पाईऐ। They apply the sacred mark on the forehead with dhoti in saffron color, with butcher's knife in hand, with blue dresses. They function with honor in the Muslim court. They receive pay from the Malich Muslims and perform prayers of Puranas. They worship gods by taking bribes. They read the Muslim prayers, kalma, and then eat the halal meat prepared in Muslim way. Then they proclaim that no one should enter their house to make it impure. With the line they demarcate cooking area, the kitchen, and they themselves sit as an embodiment of falsehood in that kitchen, and do not allow anyone to enter this zone to make it impure by their conduct, and the food may not get spoiled and impure by others' touch. Their body is already impure with the bad deeds. They are having false and impure minds, though they try to wash their mouths for purification. O Nanak, we should remember the true God alone, as we could attain the God only if our hearts are pure. Pauri चित्तै अंदर सब को, वेख नदरी हेठ चलाइंदा, आपे दे वड्याइयां आपे ही कर्म कराइंदा। वड्डों वड्डा वड मेदनी, सिरे सिर तंदै लाइंदा। नदर उपट्ठी जे करे, सुल्ताना काह कराइंदा। दर मंगन भिख ना पाइंदा। The God Vaheguru cares for each and every person, keeping everyone under his personal care and supervision. The God himself bestows greatness on humans and keeps them engrossed in various chores or functions. Vaheguru is the greatest power on earth, and his created world is also grand and wonderful, and then he engages everyone on different functions. Once the God gets perturbed or annoyed with someone, then even the kings are not spared, and they are reduced to paupers, whom nobody even give alms when they are made to beg for their food and living. Slok Mahila Pehla, जे मोहा का कर मुहे, कर में पितरी दे। अज्ञे वस्त सिंझाणिए, पितरी चोर करे। वड्डिया है हाथ दलाल के, मुसफी एह करे। नानक अज्ञे सो मिलै, जे खट्टे काले दे। In case a thief steals some money from another's house for the purpose of feeding ancestors in the other world by feeding pundits with the help of stolen wealth, and uses it for giving alms with the help of stolen wealth, giving alms to benefit ancestors, once the stolen goods are recognized by someone in the other world, even the ancestors will be labeled as thieves, and the intermediary Brahmin will also get punished by chopping off his hands for using stolen money for the purpose of almsgiving. Even the court of justice, Dharamraj, will dispense a similar type of justice. O Nanak, we always get in the next world whatever we have earned in this world through our good or bad actions. We get paid for our virtues or sins after death in God's presence. Mahla Pehla Jo Joru Sir Ravani Ave Varo Var Jhoote Jhootha Mukh Vasai Nit Nit Hoye Khuar Suche Eh Na Aakhiye Behn Je Pinda Toe Suche Se Nanaka Jin Man Vasya Soe. Just as a woman gets periods every month and is considered impure in those times until they have had a bath to purify themselves, similarly the false and untrue people always give out bad and foul smell from the mouth because of the impurities of falsehood practiced by them, and feel ashamed and disgraced every day due to slander used by them. By having a bath for the body alone is not good enough for purification of an individual. O Nanak, it is only those people who spend their life in remembering the God by inculcating true name in the heart are called pure and perfect. Pauri Ture Palane Pon Veg Har Rangi Harum Sawareya Kothe Mandap Mariya Laye Baithe Kar Pasariya चीज करन मन पावदे हर बुझन नाही हारिया कर फरमाइस खाया वेख मेहलत मरण विसारिया जर आई जोबन हारिया. There are some people who have the privilege of ridding vast states with beautiful ladies laden with ornaments, serving as their spouses, and occupy palatial and beautiful mansions, and they enjoy the fun of worldly drama in various forms. But unfortunately, they are bereft of the knowledge of the God. As a result, they lose the battle of life, and this human life is lost in the gamble without gaining anything. They have commanded big empires, thus acquiring all material comforts and wealth, and they forget about death while using these big buildings and mansions for their living in comforts. When the old age with all infirmities has arrived and the period of youth is lost in false worldly achievements without gaining any real aim of life, the human life is lost in fruitless efforts. Salok Mahla Pehla Jekar Sutak Manye Sab tai sutak hoye gohe attai lakdi andar कीड़ा होए जेते दाने अन्न के जियां बाज न खोए पहला पानी जियो है जित हरिया सब कोए सूतक क्यों कर रखी है सूतक पवैर सोए नानक सूतक एव न उतरे ज्ञान उतारे तोए. If one accepts the concept of impurity, then there is impurity everywhere. In cow dung, in wood, there are worms, As many as there are grains of corn, none is without life. First, there is life in the water by which everything else is made green. How can it be protected from impurity? It touches our own kitchen. O Nanak, impurity cannot be removed this way. It is washed away only by spiritual knowledge. महला पहला मन का सूतक लोभ है, जेवा सूतक कूड़, अखी सूतक वेखना, पारत्रिय पर धन रूप, कन्नी सूतक खान पै, लायत बारी खाहे, नानक हंसा आदमी, बद्धे जंपर जाहे. The impurity of mind is greed, impurity of tongue is falsehood, impurity of eyes is to gaze upon the wealth and beauty of others, impurity of the ears is to listen to the slander of others. O Nanak, the mortal soul goes bound and gagged to the city of death. महला पहला सबो सूतक परम है, दूजै लगै जाए, जमन मरना हुक्म है, पाणै आवे जाए, खाना पीना पवित्र है, दीतौन रिजक संभाहे, नानक जिन्नी गुरमुख बुझिया, तिन्ना सूतक नाहे. All impurity is caused from the doubt and attachment to dual-mindedness. All birth and death are subject to command of Vaheguru's will. Through his will we come and we go. Eating and drinking are pure, since God gives nourishment to all. O Nanak, the Gurmukhs who understand God, they are never stained by impurity. पौड़ी सतगुरु वड्डा कर सलाहिए, जिस विच वड्डियां वड्डियाइयां, सह मेले तान तरी आइयां, जा तिस पाणा ता मन वसाइयां, कर हुक्म मस्तक हथ तर, विचों मार कड्डियां बुरियाइयां, सह तुठै नौनिध पाइयां. Praise that great Satguru. Within him is the greatest of all the greatness. When God causes us to meet such a Guru, only then we see them. When it pleases him, they come to dwell in our minds. By Vaheguru's command, when he places his hand on our forehead, all the wickedness departs from within. When the God is thoroughly pleased, the 9 treasures are obtained. श्लोक महला पहला, पहला सुचा आप होए, सुचे बैठाए, सुचे अगे रखियोन, कोई ना पेटियो जाए, सुचा होए कै जेविया, लगा पढ़न श्लोक, कुहथी जाई सटिया, किस एहो लगा दोख. First, the Brahmin purifies himself with the bath and then takes his seat in a pure kitchen. Nobody had touched this food which this pure man prepared, placed it in a pure utensil, and then kept it in front of him. The faithless person, posing as a pure Brahmin, partook of this dainty food and then went on to read some slokas in favor of the host for having nice food. But then this food is thrown into a filthy place in his stomach. Whose fault is all this? Ann devata, pani devata, besantar devata, loon पंजवा पाया किरत ता हुआ पाक पवित्र पापी स्यों तन गड्डिया थुका पइया तित जित मुख नाम न उचरे बिन नावे रस खाहे नानक एवें जानिए तित मुख थुका पाहे. The food is sacred, the water is sacred, the fire and salt are all sacred as well. They are considered gods. When the fifth thing, the ghee, is added, then the food becomes pure and sanctified. Coming into contact with the sinful human body, the food becomes so impure that it is spat on. That mouth which does not chant the name of Vaheguru, without the name eats tasty foods. O Nanak, know this, such a mouth is to be spat upon. Mahla Pehla Pand Jamiye Pand Nimiye Pand Mangan Vyah Pando Hove Dosti Pando Chale Rah Pand Mua Pand Paliye Pand Hove Bandhan So Kyo Mandakhiye जित जम्मे राजान पंडो ही पंड उपजय पंडय बाज न कोय नानक पंडय बाहरा एको सच्चा सोए जित मुख सदा सलाहिए पागा रत्ती चार नानक ते मुख चले तित सच्चे दरबार. Why do you belittle or degrade the householder's life? At first, the child is conceived by the mother and then is born to a mother, a woman. Then man gets betrothed and married to a woman. Then he develops love for woman and consults her in all decisions regarding children's marriage or other worldly chores are conducted by consulting her. When one wife dies, he looks around for another woman. In fact, the whole world is run with women's attachments or involvements. How could we then call a woman inferior or lower in status to man when she is the one who gives birth to kings or saints? The woman gives birth to another woman, so how could the world progress without the woman? O Nanak, there is only one true God who is not affected by woman, who is above this, and he is not at all concerned with this. The person who recites God's true name is to be considered a real fortunate one. O Nanak, such person who is received in God's court with honor as they proceed from here with flying colors to God's presence. Pauri sabko aakhe apna जिस नाही सो चुन कटिए कीता पो अपना आपे ही लेखा संडिए जो रहना नाही ऐत जग ता कायत गारब हंडिए मंदा किसे न आखिए पढ़ अखर ए हो बुझिए मूर्ख है नाल ना लुझिए. The whole world is engrossed in the false attachments and the thought of I-ness or mine. Show me any person who is above these vicious thoughts. If there is anyone, keep such a person separate, but there is none of this type. In fact, we have to account for our action in this world and reap the reward of our actions in the other world. Oh brother, why should we feel so proud when we know the transient nature of this life? Let us realize one thing after all the studies and education we have had, that no one is inferior or bad, and we should not consider anyone below us. It is no use quarreling with a fool, so we should not get involved with anyone by calling them inferior, thus inviting a quarrel. श्लोक महला पहला नानक फिक्याय बोलिए तन मन फिक्का होए फिक्को फिक्का सदिए फिक्के फिक्की सोए फिक्का दरगाह सटिए मुँह थुक्का फिक्के पाए फिक्का मूर्ख आखिए पाणा लहे सजाए. O Nanak, people who use insipid and crude language while speaking to others are indeed foolish people, as with this rough speech one's body and mind gets affected, becoming crude, as there is no love left in such hearts. Such a person is known as a rough and crude person, and his importance is equally belittled due to this. In fact, the unpleasant person with crude language is thrown into the fire of hell and condemned everywhere with unpleasant remarks, being discredited and dishonored. Such foolish people are punished with the worst possible means and are beaten with shoes. Mahila pehla अंदरों झूठे पैज बाहर दुनिया अंदर फैल 68 तीरथ जे नावे उतरे नहीं मैल जिन पट अंदर बाहर गुदड़ ते पुले संसार तिन नेह लगा रब से ते देखने विचार. Those who are false within and honorable on the outside are so common in this world, even though they may bathe at 68 sacred shrines of pilgrimage, still their filth does not go away. Those who have silk on the inside and rags on the outside, they are the good ones in this world. They embrace love for the God and contemplate beholding Him. रंग हंसे रंग रोवे चुप भी कर चाहे परवाह नाही किसे केरी बाज सच्चे नाह दरवाट ऊपर खर्च मंगा जब देता खाहे दीवान एको कलम एका हमा तुम्हा मेल दर ले लेखा पीड़ छुटे नानका ज्यों तेल. They laugh in the love of God, and they weep and cry in the love of God, and also they keep silent. They do not care for anything else other than God, other than their true husband, beloved God. Sitting waiting at the door of Vaheguru, they beg for food, and when he gives to them, they eat. There is only one court of God, and he has only one pen. There you and I shall meet. In the court of God, the accounts are examined. O Nanak, the sinners are crushed like oil seeds in the press. Pauri आपे ही करना कियो कल आपे ही तय तारिए देखे कीता अपना तर कच्ची पक्की सारी है जो आया सो चल सी सब कोई आई वारी है जिसके जी प्राण है क्यों साहिब मनु विसारिए, आपन हथी आपना आपे ही काज सवारिए। O Vaheguru, you yourself has created this creation. You yourself infuse your power into this. You take care of this creation. You behold your creation like the losing and winning dice of the earth. Whoever has come shall eventually depart. All shall have their turn. He who owns our soul and our very breath of life, why should we forget that God and Master from our minds? Let us resolve our own affairs with our own hands. Shlok Mahla Duja, एक ने ही आशिकी दूजे लगे जाए, नानक आशिक कांडिए सद ही रहे समाए। चंगे चंगा कर मन्ने मंदे मंदा होए, आशिक एह ना आखिए जे लिखे वर्ते सोए। What sort of love is it when the person is engrossed in the love of worldly pleasures and possessions instead of the love for Vaheguru due to one's dual-mindedness? Why does the heart get interested in worldly falsehood? O Nanak, true lovers are those people who are always immersed in the love of God. A true lover should keep an account of all comforts and joy, all miseries and afflictions, along with his good and bad deeds. O Nanak, a true lover would always remain imbued with God's love equally well, whether in joy or sorrow. But if someone were to keep an account of joy and sorrow along with good and bad deeds, then it cannot be termed true love if it goes by any such calculations. In fact, one should follow the God's will and pleasure, whether in pain or pleasure, in good or bad results. Mahalla Duja, Salam Jawab Dovein Kare, Mundo Kutha Jaye, Nanak Dovein Kudiyan Thai Na Kai Paye. If someone does not accept complete surrender to one's master by wiping out ego, but on one side a person worships God and on the other side argues and questions about God, then this is not acceptable to Vaheguru, as this person has lost any direction or any right ways. O Nanak, salutations or questionings of such a person are both false and artificial, so he cannot find honor and regard at God's court. A person who bows to God at one time and questions his authority at another cannot find any favor and acceptance by Vaheguru. Pauri जित सेवियै सुख पाइयै, सो साहिब सदा संभालियै, जित कीता पाइयै आपना, सा काल बुरी क्यों कालियै, मंदा मूल न कीचई, दे लम्मी नदर निहालियै, ज्यों साहिब नाल नहारियै, ते वेहा पासा टालियै, किछ लाहे ऊपर कालियै. We should always remember God, in whose service we find peace and tranquility of mind. Why should we indulge in sinful actions when we have to pay for our own actions? Why should we do evil deeds because of which we have to suffer? Do not do any evil at all. Look ahead to the future with a foresight. Throw the dice in such a way that you shall not lose with your God and Master. Do those deeds which shall bring you profit. श्लोक महला दूजा चाकर लगे चाकरी नाले गारबवाद गल्ला करे कनेरियाँ खसम न पाए साध आप गवाए सेवा करे ता किछ पाए मान नानक जिसनो लगा तिस मिले लगा सो परवान. If a follower performs services but at the same time engages in argumentative behavior in vain with the master due to ego, such a person does not gain the nectar of true name of the God. However, when the follower gives up one's ego and engages himself in the service of the master, then such a person is received with honor in God's presence. Once the follower serves the master with body and mind, such a person gets united with God and is accepted by God in his court. But this status is only gained by complete self-surrender of the follower. महला दूजा जो जी होए सो गवे मुँह का कहया वाओ बीजे बिख मंगे अमृत वेखो एहो नियाओ. Whatever is in the mind finally comes forth. Spoken words themselves are just wind. Whatever a person desires within one's heart is given out as the speech gets relayed with the speed of the wind. How could a person sowing the seeds of poison look for nectar as the reward? There is no justification for someone who indulges in causing suffering to others to expect joy or comforts in return. Whatever you sow, so shall you reap. महला दूजा नालियाने दोस्ती कदे नावे रास जेहा जाने ते हो वर्ते वेखो को निर्जास वस्तु अंदर वस्तु समावे दूजी होवे पास साहिब सेती हुक्म न चले कही बने अरदास कूड़ कमाणे कूड़ो होवे नानक शिफ्त विकास. If you develop friendship with a person not very clever or intelligent, then the love maintained between the two could not be sustained for long. If your mind follows the unintelligent friend, it would not lead to a successful end. In fact, the friend would be able to guide you only to the extent that person possesses knowledge which could easily be checked up. The true state of mind will always lead to vicious thoughts or simple actions. Whatever you may say or however hard you may try, if a utensil is already full up with something, then this has to be removed before trying to accommodate another item in the same container. So we have to eliminate the vicious thoughts from the mind before accepting any virtuous thoughts or good advice. O Nanak, it is always advisable to accept the dictates of such a master and request him for anything rather than indulging in commanding the God for any requirements. the best is to agree into Vahiguru's directions. The mind gets peace and joy in singing the praises of God. But if someone were to engage in falsehood, then such a person would reap the reward of falsehood only and would be known as a liar or false person all around. महला दूजा नाल यानी दोस्ती वडारू स्यों नेह पानी अंदर लीक ज्यों तिसदा थाओ न थेह. Developing love for the unintelligent friend or developing love and friendship for a rich person is just like drawing a line in water which does not have any existence or any meaning. Mahla दूजा होए याना करे कम आण न सकै रास जे इक अध चंगी करे दूजी भी वेरास. If a fool or unintelligent person engages in some business without any interest, then such person would lose capital investment even and would run into losses. Even if such a person were to perform a particular job profitably, then he would lose in the next job due to his casual approach, and even the capital investment is lost. Pauri chakar lagay chakari जे चलै खसमै पाए हुर्मत तिसनो अगली ओ वजहों भी दूना खाए. खसमै करे बराबरी फिर गैरत अंदर पाए वजहों गवाए अगला मुहे मुँह पाना खाए. जिसदा दिता खावना तिस कई ऐसा वास नानक हुक्म न चलई नाल खसम चले अरदास. If a servant performing services obeys the will of his master, then his honor increases and such a person receives double his wages. But if this person claims to be equal to his master, then he earns his master's displeasure. He loses entire salary and is also beaten on face with shoes. Let us all celebrate him from whom we receive our nourishment. O Nanak, no one can issue commands to the God Master. Let us offer prayers instead. श्लोक महला दूजा एह किन्ही दात आपस ते जो पाइए नानक साखर मात साहिब तुठै जो मिले. What sort of gift is this which we receive only by our own asking? O Nanak, that is the most wonderful gift which is received from the God when He is totally pleased. Mahla दूजा एह किन्ही चाकरी जित पाओ खसम न जाए नानक सेवक कादिए जे सेती खसम समाए. What is use of such a service of God by doing which our fear complex is not eliminated? Once the love of God is developed, then where is the question of any fear complex? O Nanak, the follower, disciple who develops love for the God and finally merges with Him is acceptable in God's presence. Pauri Nanak ant na japni हरता के पारावार, आप कराए साखती फिर आप कराए मार। इक ना गली जंजीरियाँ, इक तुरे चढ़े बिसियार, आप कराए करे आप, हों कैस्यों करी पुकार। नानक करना जिन किया, फिर तिस ही करनी सार। O Nanak, there is no end to the greatness and vastness of Vaheguru, with both the sides extending beyond our comprehension. So it is not possible for us to even make a guess. The God has created this universe himself and then he destroys it as well. There are some persons in bondage of slavery, while some others they have privilege of riding beautiful and costly horses. Some suffer while others enjoy all comforts. O Nanak, whom shall I go to lodge a complaint, as God himself is responsible for everything on one side, and on the other he is the actual actor, doer as well. He performs all functions in the form of an individual, and he himself is the cause of all this. So whom to address our grievances? The God who does create this universe then arranges for its sustenance as well. It is his privilege only to maintain it as well. Slok Mihla Pehla, आपे पांडे साचियन, आपे पूरण दे। इकनी दुध समाइए, इक चूल्हे रहन चढ़े। इक निहाली पैसवन, इक ऊपर रहन खड़े। तिन्हा सवारे नानका, जिनको नदर करे। Vaheguru himself created human bodies with souls like utensils of human form, and then they are presented with the treasure of true name in full measure, which makes them perfect Guru-minded people. Some utensils are filled with milk, while others are subjected to heat by placing them on fire for cooking. Similarly, some people, they enjoy the bliss of meditating on true name, while some others are suffering due to worries and afflictions. Some people sleep in the comforts of mattresses and quilts, while some others stand on duty for rendering services to others. O Nanak, the people who are bestowed with your grace, O Vaheguru, are blessed with your benediction of true name, and they are finally merged with yourself. Mahla Duja, आपे साजे करे आप, जाई भी रखे आप। तिस विच जंत उपाय कै, देखे थाप थाप। किसनो कहिए नानका, सब किछ आपे आप। He himself creates and fashions the world, and he himself keeps it in order. Having created the beings within it, he oversees their birth and death. Unto whom shall we speak, O Nanak, when he himself is all in all? Pauri Vade kiya vadiyaiyan, kich kehna कहन न जाए। सो करता कादर करीम, दे जियां रिजक संभाहे। साई कार कुमावणी, तुर छोड़ी तिन्ने पाए। नानक एके बाहरी, होर दूजी नाही जाए। सो करे जित से रजाए। शुद्ध The greatness and grandeur of God the Creator cannot be described. It is beyond description and beyond our comprehension. He Himself is the Creator and the Doer, all combined in one. He Himself bestows His grace and then, after creation, sustains them, all providing them with wealth. We should also undertake only those functions and duties which are earmarked for us through the predestined will of the God, so that we obey the dictates of such a God. O Nanak, God pervades everywhere, being omnipresent, so that there is no place or person without the presence of God. So whatever He wills comes to pass as it pleases Him. We should also remain within the control of His will, as He does whatever pleases Him.